Why is it?
Hello, welcome everyone. Let's give the rest 5 minutes to join in. Let's give the rest 5 minutes to join in. Kindly do well to drop your attendance in the in-call message area. Drop your attendance in the in-call message area, and then we'll give others. We're starting 10 on the dot. Note, you cannot comment if you've not subscribed, so do well to hit the subscribe button to enable you to comment and drop your attendance in the right format. Alright, we'll be starting in the next 2 minutes, 12:10 on the dot. Let's let other people join in. So if you are just joining in, kindly drop in your attendance in the right format in the income message area. Like I said earlier, to be able to comment, you need to subscribe to the channel. If you've not, kindly do that. Thank you. Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to your Q&A section. So like we said earlier, this is just a section where we just answer questions. So over the course of the teaching for the week, if you know that there is something that has been confusing you, something that you don't really know how to go about, something that you've seen the video over and over again but you don't understand, do well to drop that in the income message area for me now, and I'll attend to it one after the other. Alright, do well to drop your questions in the income message area now, and I'll attend to it one after the other. So we'll be waiting. Drop in your questions, drop in your questions. If you are just coming in now, drop in your attendance. Welcome, Richie Boy. I recognize you from yesterday. Welcome, Princess. Welcome, guys. Welcome to our live section. Chidera Obi, you just dropped in. I don't think you dropped that in the right format. Kindly correct that. Kindly correct that. Drop in your attendance. Even if you don't know what to do, just look at what your mates are doing and then you follow suit. Yeah. So if you have a question, that's what we'll be attending to. So if nobody asks a question, it means we are all clear on everything we've been teaching. We are all clear. So yesterday's live section, yesterday's class section will be uploaded today after this class, after this call. We'll upload that and get you guys notified in the WhatsApp group that has been done. So if you have any question, I think someone asked a question yesterday and I said it should be shifted to this class. So kindly just drop in your questions and we attend to it together. Alright, Joshua Peter. I'm having difficulty understanding the UI UX design. So can you be more specific? What don't you understand? Is it the term UI UX or how to go about it? What don't you understand exactly in the UI UX? So just for the sake of clarity, what is UI UX? UI means user interface and UX is user experience. In the simplest possible term, UI is how the websites look. When people are looking at the website, what exactly do they see? If you look at what's being displayed on the screen now, you would see there are colors, there are fonts, there are shapes. Those are the UI. But UX is how the website really feels. So UI, how it looks. UX, how it feels. Let's go over it again. UI is how the website looks. What you are seeing with your eye. UX is how it feels. How it feels. So how do people feel using your website? Like we said in our very first class, is it difficult to use? Is it easy to use? So you only get to give people a good user experience when you really understand their problem. So the first thing to do in every of your new project is to really understand what this project what the work is trying to solve, the problem the work is trying to solve. And when you understand that, you know exactly how it should work. So in yesterday's class, we started designing the dashboard for recruiters, those that want to employ people. So you just ask yourself a simple question. How exactly do I think they will go about this recruitment process? So first of all, even if you don't have any knowledge in UI UX, you know that one, there should be a place where they would see people that, has filled the job application form. They should get the feedback from people that have filled the form. And then they should be able to review all application. They should be able to review all application and also be able to send those people a feedback message on if they've been employed, if they've been hired, if they are rejected, and all of that. So these are the processes that comes to your head when you get a job like this. So it's very simple. How exactly am I going to arrange this? So you now have to start thinking about user flow. How is it going to flow? From which step to which step? Which is going to be the first? Which is going to be the second? Which is going to be like the last flow? If you don't really understand this, we said something about going to places like Dribble to Behance. Just search recruiters design, recruiters UI design. You would see what people have already done. Calm down and study it and understand what we call mental model, how it literally works, how the flow works. Once you understand it, you will know how to navigate this. And don't pressure yourself too much. All these things comes with experience. It comes with just going to Dribble, seeing a design and replicating it, even if you don't really understand how it works. Just keep replicating design. With time, you'll get used to functionality. I said something about in UI UX, we consider functionality over aesthetics. We want it to be beautiful. We want it to have all those, we want it to be very attractive, but most especially, we want it to work. What is the website going to be used for? If the website is for job recruiters, when they want to recruit, let them be able to just recruit. Let them go from getting someone to hiring someone. That's an end-to-end MVP flow. So if the website cannot successfully do that, it definitely means that you've not done your UX is bad. So sometimes you hear something like the UI is good, the UX is bad. What does this mean? UI, the website is so beautiful, the UX is bad. I wasn't able to do what I went to the website to do. So imagine you went to Jumia to buy something, and then somehow you've seen what you want to buy, but you cannot see a place to click buy. Obviously, the buy could be there, probably it's very small, and then your eye did not catch it. What did that tell you? The UX is bad. The user experience, the experience you had using that application was very, very bad. It could be that the UI is beautiful, the website is so beautiful, but UX can be very, very bad, I just hope I've answered that. I also have answered the question from the first person. So welcome guys. If you're just joining in, drop your attendance. Before you do that, kindly subscribe to this channel. And yeah, the second question. Good afternoon. I tried using Figma on my phone as I don't have a system, but it was hard. Does it mean I can't design using Figma without a system? If you watched your orientation video, this has already been answered. Yes, Figma cannot be done with a phone. But then we'll say something about encouraging students to, even if it means borrowing. UI UX is a knowledge worth having. It's a knowledge worth having. So even if it means borrowing, to just push yourself beyond your comfort zone, to just learn, because this is a free skill. You are not paying to learn this UI UX with Lumtech. You're not paying. So even if it means borrowing, going to a cyber cafe to just find a way to practice what you've been taught, that's what we advise students to do as they save up to get their system. Because you really need to have a system to be able to do UI UX. So what is a brief summary in UI UX and how do we use it? What have I been saying since? A brief summary in UI UX. So just to go over it again, just in case Facom Words is just joining us. So UI means user interface, UX means user experience. So like I said earlier, UI is how the website looks, while UX is how the website feels. So that is as brief as it can be, So good afternoon from Nwankwo Raymond. Welcome. Good afternoon. In order to make my research to understand the functionality of a project effectively, where can I search for my source? So I said something about when you get a role, a job, a gig for the first time, they would give you something called PRD. So if there's any project manager here or product manager, they would understand what PRD means. PRD means product requirements document. So they would give you everything that is required in the product, everything that is needed in the product, all the functionalities, all the features should be there from end to end. So your work is just to work with the PRD and bring it to life. So just in case you're just practicing and this is not a full-time role, you're just practicing, nobody gave you any PRD. How do you do this? Just go to ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT, I'm new into UI UX. Kindly give me a brief that I should work on. Give me a PRD on, probably you want to work on a food website. Just tell ChatGPT, give me a PRD for a food website containing all of its functionality and features needed from end to end. This is how you can research. So you can research using ChatGPT, you can research, just online and all of that. So, but we advise students to, first of all, just start replicating designs. Go to Dribble, go to Behance, you would see people's designs. Just start replicating designs. To get so used to color combination, get used to fonts, get used to all of those things, So I think I always preach UI over UX, which is bad, but I have a reason. I always preach UI. People are usually so drawn to what they see. Somehow, imagine the UX is good, but then you get to a website that obviously the UX is good, it feels good to use, but then the color combination is so bad. They're seeing red and orange as things that are not just working, So just first of all learn your UI, which is what we are teaching you now. This is UI. We are teaching you how to use, the whole what you're going to be seeing. That's what we're learning. You learn your UI, but it's very important that you also learn your UX. So there are people that just concentrate on user interface. They call themselves user interface designers. That's all they do. Right? There are other people that learn only UX, which is user experience design. So companies like Google hire for different things. They hire the UI different, hire the UX different. They literally hire the interaction designers different. I think in our last class we will learn a bit of interaction interaction design, prototyping. We learned that in our last class. So every stage of the design process, companies like Google have experts, people that call themselves UI experts. They'll tell you they do UX, but they're not so good with UX. So they'll tell you that their core strength is UI, So you might not really have to. But for someone in Nigeria, if you want to work for a Nigerian startup, Nigerian companies, they would want to get the UI and the UX in one person. So it's very important that as you're also working on your colors and all of that, you understand what UX is. You pay attention to what UX is. So I really hope I answered that question. So thank you, Raymond. We'll move to the next person, Onyeka. Welcome, Onyeka. Ma, please, I'm having some challenge in color combination. I don't know which color that can work together. So yeah, Onyeka, I don't know if you were in our first design class, right? Was that our first design class? Yes, in our first design class, we said something about places you can get colors. You don't need to stress combining colors. Colors are difficult. I, for one, still struggle with colors. It's difficult to combine colors, but there are websites that have done this work for you. So in order to play safe, what I usually do is something called monochromatic color. So I try to use one color all through my design process. How do I do that? Probably I want to use blue. So I will use blue, use the next shade of blue. It just goes from dark to a very light shade of blue. So the darkest shade of blue is used to make strong emphasis, while the lightest shade is used to make light emphasis. I don't know if this really makes sense to you, but just to play safe, you can browse monochromatic colors. So all of this diving into colors deeply was done in the masterclass, But then I gave you guys a hint on how to go about color, because you might not really have time to. Color on its own is a topic, typography is a topic, wireframing is a topic, prototyping is a topic, designing UI can stay. For the UX, people take as much as 1 month to teach UX, one month to teach UI. We're just trying to fast track to make sure we touch as much as we can touch for this 1 month. I did something about color hunts, and I provided a material in the group chat. Do well to go through the materials and look out for the places I say you can get colors that have been combined and must work. Yeah, thank you. I really hope I answered that question. And I would also drop something in the group chat. I pray I remember. I'll drop a color checker. There is something you can use to put in your color codes and then check it if they can match, if you want to do that manually. So I'll drop that link in the group chat for us to also go through. Facom words, you come again. What is a brief in UI UX? Okay. So would say a brief is a document that contains, what they want you, just a summary, like a quick summary of what they want you to design. It might not really go deep. The in-depth part of what they need from you will be found in your PRD, which is a product requirement document. So they can just give you a brief. Hi, promise, I want to get you employed. I want you to do this, do this, do this. So basically the website is to do this. So currently I'm in a Web3 space. Yeah. Oh, my phone is far from me. I could have read out. Okay, no, I'm not allowed to do that. It's an NDA project, meaning I can't take it out. So I could have read out a brief to you guys for you to really understand, So but then it's very simple. They will just say, you'll be designing a Web3 wallet exchange, this to this. Basically, the exchange will be able to do this, do that, do that. It will be very brief for you understand. But then there will not be a deeper, revealing document of what exactly is required, which will be seen in your PRD. So a brief is just, just to brief you of what the project is about. If, for the sake of lack of words, just to tell you in a very shallow level what the project is about. That's what a brief would contain. So can I use an iPad to operate Figma? So one student asked me this yesterday. I don't know, I don't use an iPhone. I use my Mac. I have not tried it. So just give it a try and get back to me in my DM, Ojo Abigail, so I would know about that. Download Figma, try with your iPad, give it a try. If it works, and then you're lucky. Yeah. So what is the meaning of PRD, please? PRD means product requirement document. What is required in the product? So if you are designing a website or you are designing an application, it's called a digital product. So when I tell people I'm a designer, they usually ask, are you a fashion designer? I say no. They will ask, what exactly do you design? So the answer is simple. I design digital products. So what are digital products? Digital products are your application, your website, if you're using an iWatch, all the apps there and all of those things, those are digital products, So yeah, so PROD are the product requirement documents. So the requirements that is needed for the digital product you are designing. I don't know if that makes sense, So I think I would message a PM, a project manager that I know, and ask her for a PROD to just show you guys how it looks. Yeah. So we'll go to the next question. Billionaire boss. Good afternoon, ma. I tried downloading Figma on my system from the site you downloaded from in the orientation video, but it wasn't working. The site said my system is not compatible. I really don't know if you are using I don't know the processing speed your system has. I don't know the RAM size your system has. Some systems are really outdated. So just take it to a cyber cafe and see if you can upgrade it, that these things are done, or rather swap the system to a better one. You can try restarting your system and downloading again. If it doesn't work, take it to a cyber cafe. Figma enters all systems. At least you should have Core i3, I think, Core i5, Core i7. So I use a Core i7 in my Mac, and then there's this other Dell I also use that is a Core i9. So I may not really relate to what you're saying. Sorry. So just take it to a cyber cafe and see if they can help you upgrade it. So good morning, please, Owama. Good morning. My question is this: you mentioned that when designing for iPhones, you can select a specific model to design for in the Figma board. In cases where we are designing for iPhone, do we need to select each iPhone model individually, like iPhone 11, 12? Oh no, I think I get that. No, you don't need to. You don't need to do that. You just pick. I usually just pick the latest iPhone. I literally just pick the latest iPhone. That's what I do, and I use it across all models. I don't change. I don't do that. But if they really want to be specific, they can tell you, use this for iPhone 12. I think there is a place for responsiveness. That so far is an iPhone, it just kind of fits in all the iPhone screens for iPhone. So there's a place for responsiveness, So when the developers are developing it, they will make it responsive because you picked an iPhone frame. I don't know if that answers the question. So you don't need to design the whole process for iPhone 11, iPhone 12. Oh my God, it's going to be a lot. No, you don't do that. So there is a place for responsiveness. Yeah. Thank you so much. Please. So yeah, the next question. Is it a must that we must make research before creating a design, even if the client has told you what he wants? Yes, it is. In fact, it's more than a must. Most clients don't know what they want. There is something called social bias. So there could be bias about a particular product. For example, I want to make a product for what am I going to use for an example? I want to make okay. So there is this company I worked with before, bundling. Yeah, what do? We kind of design. What we majorly do at bundling is that, how in Nigeria there is no trust. Online businesses, there is no trust. So bundling is like a third party that comes in. So yeah, I'm in a way advertising bundling. It's like a third party that comes in between the two persons that don't trust themselves, the person that is selling and the person that is buying. So what we majorly do is that we export African products outside of this country. But then those outside, they don't really trust Nigerians due to the bad names that Nigerians already have. You know how this thing works in this country, scammers and all of that, So what do? The person that needs the product sends money to your bundling account. You would see the money, but you cannot access it. You've seen that the money has entered, but you cannot access it until you release your product. So when you release the product and ship it over to the person outside of the country, the person receives the goods and ticks receive. Once the person ticks receive, in your bundling app, you can now access the money. So it's called an escrow management system. I don't know if you understand how that works here. Yeah. So imagine I want to do this and my employer just tell me this is what I want to do, and I don't really go and research. I don't research if this is actually going to work. I don't research if the person that is sending is going to trust the person that is receiving. I don't research that I sent the goods first. He saw it. He sent the money first. I sent the goods. he received, and then he ticked receive. So we really want to make sure, put everything in place and make sure that from our own end, once he receives the goods, he wouldn't deny that he did not get the goods and don't tick receive for me to get it. So there are things I really need to research about and ask myself, what and what can I put in between these softwares to make sure that once he receives, he's mandated to tick receive before he carry his goods. Can go as far as meeting, if you want to be exporting to American embassies, ask them what and what is required to be able to seize the goods until someone ticks an app, and just tick receive and all of that. So you might think you have everything figured out, you don't. As you start designing in between the lines, you start seeing loopholes. As easy as this one I said is, it's not that easy. People can still find a way to maneuver it, but then we have to find a way to just make it work. So what they can do is they can tell you, for the both of them that is signing up, so what we did at Bondi, they have to fill in their BVN. BVN is just it's just unique to you. It means if you say you've not received it, we'll do all our investigations. We are with your BVN. It means we can flag you, we can do a lot to your BVN, contains your house address, you cannot run, it's just a lot, So all these things, we got to know all these things from our research. So imagine I just said the client already know what he wants, and then I go ahead to design. It means there will be no, in the creating account section, I won't even remember to put a place for BVN and stuff like that. So I don't know if you understand. So there is need for research. Research reveals things that are in between the lines that you are not seeing that are very, very important. Even after the whole design process, so there is a last stage called testing. Testing is you testing out this product with real life users. Look at them, get their feedback, and go back and iterate on your design. So even after you are done, you will still be researching if what you've designed is actually solving the problem you wanted to solve. So there is need for research, yeah? So I go to the next person. Q2, question 2. What is UI? Why is UI always taught first before UX, especially in product design, and sometimes UX isn't usually taught deep? So personally for me, I feel like UX is more like theory. So imagine you know all those theories and you don't know practical. What does that make you? So imagine, I'm not saying UX is so important. So I can even say it's more important than UI because it's the functionality comes from UX. The activities that we said is less important than functionality comes from UI. Functionality comes from UX. But then just imagine you're a medical doctor and you've read all the books to being a medical practitioner, but you've never practiced. You have all the knowledge, you know everything, but you've never actually practiced. What does that make you? Head knowledge. Just imagine you are into the music ministry. You know everything about music. You know about crescendo. You know about trying to remember some music terms. Just all those sustaining. You know about changing of keys. You know everything about. You've never actually sang. You've never used the mic. You've never opened your mouth. What does that make you? So we won't say UI is more important. We literally teach UI first because it kind of makes you start practicing, start feeling like a designer. And then when you now really, really want to go deep to do what expert designers are doing, you take your UX class seriously. So I think after this class, I will be recommending a place for you to learn UX. It used to be free, but I recommended it to my last student, and he told me that they're asking for $5. I don't know, I've not checked that. It's Google UX design. It used to be free. I'm a certified UI UX designer from Google. It used to be free. But the only thing is that they did not teach any practical in that course. They only taught UX. So after staying a whole 7 months learning from them, at the end of the class, I wasn't able to use Figma. So are you seeing the reason why from my end, from Lumtech, we thought it wise to teach UI first. And this is just a beginner class. So obviously, we wanted to start really feeling like a designer. So imagine this orientation class was just GST. I came in and I taught you all the UX, and we never really opened Figma, and then the class was over. How would you feel about the class? So we won't say UI is better, but we always teach it first to make them feel so interested in the game. Once you start designing something, there is just this joy it gives you, and you want to go deeper, and then you can always learn your UX. So good morning, ma'am. For Figma, will it be more efficient to use the online version, or is there a specific advantage of installing it on our system? For the web version, it works beautifully. But the only reason why I love installing it is that it helps me open many tabs inside of my Figma software. I don't know how to explain that right now. but I can keep opening new design files and I will get access to all of them at once. But in the web version, once you open one, it closes the other one because you're just in one tab. That one tab contains your Figma. Once you close it, it just replaces it. So sometimes I might want to maneuver, move from this to this, just 3 designs, So I am just used to the software. So I know some people that feel like the software is occupying space in their laptop and they use the web. So at the end of the day, it's just use what works for you. Yeah. Which just use what works for you. So is Bondly an escrow? No, they use an escrow system for their, is like a payment method. An escrow payment method. That's what we do for Bondly. Yeah. So how do I know the exact font size, color to use for a specific design? All these things comes with practicing. It's like you're just learning ABCD and already asking how do I spell is? How do I do that? How do I, just with practicing, once you go to your Figma and you start designing, somehow you just feel like, this font is too big. I think I want to reduce this. I think I want to make this bigger. And how else will you know? When you spend so much of your time studying good designs, you will just know that for some reason, you might not even know the reason, people use smaller fonts. I think my own is just being too pronounced. So with practice, consuming good designs, going on Dribble, just looking at designs, you will really know what works. That's just how it works. There is no, I cannot tell you this is a rule, no. With constant practice, working on Figma 5s, you will know what works. So how do I know a good and bad design? I just look at your font size, the color you used, how you combine them. It shows your years of experience, So good afternoon, ma'am. I tried installing Figma after downloading in my laptop, but I can't. I really don't know why. So can you just take your laptop to a cyber cafe and have them look into this for you? So ma, please, are there any sites that one can complement Figma, which are also free to use but also has the same results as Figma? Oh yes, there is Adobe XD, ADOBE, and then XD. So it's also used for product design. But for some reason, most designers use Figma because Figma allows, I think now Adobe allows collaboration, but when it started earlier, it does not. So what do I mean by collaboration? 10-20 persons can be on the Figma file at a time. A single Figma project can contain 200 frames. So a company can employ 5 persons and they can be on it at a time. Different persons will just choose different features, So let me just take the messaging section. This one, so let me take the dashboard, let me take the section, at a time in the same Figma account. They'll be seeing what everybody's doing. So that is why it's like Figma is more popular. But you can always try Adobe XD. Thank you. So Emmanuel, Mr. Emmanuel, is it a must that I must design a product separately for different frame? Is there no frame that can match for all viewers like iPhone tab? And oh no, there is no. There is no frame that can match. Just looking at your laptop, you can see that it has a bigger frame size. Looking at your phone, you can see it has a smaller. Looking at your tablet, you can see it somewhere in the middle of the both of them. So a frame is like a container. So it's just going to take the size of that container. So if you make it smaller, it means it's going to be smaller. If you make it bigger, it's going to be bigger. So once you get, one of the reasons why designers charge so high is that a project, for just a project, you pick a desktop and design all to the desktop screens. You would pick a mobile frame and design all through the mobile frame screens. You want to pick a desktop because people might be viewing from their laptop, so you want to give them the view they would see when they view from their laptop. You would redesign what you've designed for people that are viewing with their phone, with the mobile frame, for people that are viewing with their phone. And you would also do something for people that are viewing with their tablet. So you put all these things into consideration. That is why you charge high. You don't charge small. And they give as much as 3 months, 6 months for a whole project, So there is so much time for you to do all of this. And once you get very good, you can finish your project in 2 months, Use the other month to relax while you still get paid for a whole 3 months of work and all of that, yeah. So I thought UX isn't only theory, especially the research part or using tools like Maze, yeah. UX isn't only theory, which is true, but then we would say that you are not designing, you're not feeling like it's a practical. So what you'll be using for maze is to test products. What you'll be doing is to ask people questions, research, observations. It's like GST upon GST upon GST. But understanding that theory actually makes you know exactly the way to structure your UI. Understanding that theory helps you know exactly how to structure your UI. So those theories are very, very important. So we're not going to say it's just theory, but you can't really say it's so practical as actually opening your Figma file and designing something, you know. So yeah. So I think we've come to the end of those that asked questions. So if we don't have any other question, we'll just call this meeting a close. This is weekend. We all need to go and rest, right? So if we don't have any other questions, we'll just end this meeting right now. So let's just give 2 minutes for anybody that wants to drop a question. 2 minutes for anybody that wants to drop a question. Okay, peace to Wama. If a client creates a mobile and a website, what frame do you use in cases like that? If a request to create so it's simple. If you open your Figma, you will see a place for frame. Once you see a place for frame, so if you request for the boat, you're going to do the boat differently. So you will just pick a particular frame for website. You do all the, if the website has 20, 100 screens, all the 100 screens for the website, you start again and pick a mobile and do all the 100 screens for a mobile view. So this is one of the reasons why you really need to charge high, because it's not a small work, but then the money is worth the stress. Yeah. So I hope I answered that. So if you want the boat, you're definitely going to be designing the boat. And most clients usually want website and mobile, because it's either you're viewing from your phone or you're viewing from your laptop. Majority of the persons just have laptop and phone. It's rare to see someone that has a phone and then a tablet that doesn't have a laptop. I don't think that makes sense. So if you feel like you want to start doing a tech something, or like you just need a laptop, you would move from phone to laptop instead of phone to tablet. So most of the times you might not really be getting tablet gigs, but whenever you get a website gig, you would always design the mobile view. You would always design, or else they told you specifically that it's just an app that you are designing. It means it's just an application, so there is no need for websites. So even if there is a website, it is just going to be a landing page that will tell people, kindly go to your Play Store and install this app, you know. So it's not going to be like designing the whole screen designed for your mobile, for your web. I don't know if that makes sense. So you would always do the both. Okay. Are UI designs and graphic design related, or is there? Oh my God, they are not related in any way. Reason being that when you're doing your UI design, there is a point where you have to prototype. There's a point where you have to animate. You know, there is a point where you have to, just do some things that cannot be seen in a graphic design work. So graphic design, note that graphic design is usually just a flyer. That contains all the information you need for a project. But UI can be 100 frames, all connected and prototypes linked to themselves. 100, so there is so much work. That's the reason why they pay. So imagine a graphic designer just charging 5,000 for just a flyer, which you can see as just a frame, But in UI, you can have as much as 100 frames that are connected to themselves. It's like, just for the lack of a good word, you can say UI is like a graphic design, which this is the wrong word. It's like 100 designs, all interconnected to themselves. I think that's the best way to put it. While graphic design, it's not connected to anything. Even if you see buy now, the buy now is not clickable, it's not connected to anything, it's not linked, it's just a font that was just kept there. I don't know if that made sense. But in UI, once you click buy now, the buy now should take you to a place. I should take you a place to cash out. I should take you a place to your bank. Like, it's just interconnected something, so they are not the same thing. All right. Good afternoon. For a real world scenario or big organization, is the research is still part of our role, or it is not part of your role? It is not part of your role. But then, as a Nigerian that we are, Nigerians usually like employing one person to do everything. So for most Nigerian companies, especially for startups, they would want you to just do the research, they want you to do the UI, to do the UX, I said something about big companies like Google. The UX researcher is different, the UI designer is different, the interaction designer is different, person that prototype is different, the marketer is different. Nigerians say sometimes they want you to be among the marketing team and all of that, But then just make sure that as they're giving you all those responsibility, you are charging very well for it. Yeah. So how do we download the color and icons into the Figma? So kindly go and watch your first design class. One, you don't need to download it, you just go close to the color you want. Just once you hover around it, you see the color code. You click on it, it just copies, and once you open your Figma, you just draw out a rectangle, fill the rectangle, go to the color code beside the rectangle and paste the code that you copied. You can, that's how to get into your system, just as simple as it can be. So just watch the first video, see how we went about that, and just get used to how to do that. So thank you for this opportunity. I'm really grateful. Please, apart from Figma, which other application can you recommend for us? I said something about Adobe XD. Adobe XD works, right? But Adobe XD works, right? But most people use Figma, so that's why we teach Figma. Most companies, when they are employing, they will tell you the particular software they want you to be using, and it's usually Figma. To enable collaboration between you and your other designers. When creating a user flow for a PRD, how do you interpret the document? Remember you mentioned that certain shapes are used to represent specific functionalities or features, like the start button. When creating a user flow from a PRD, how do you interpret the document? And the likes. Could you shed more light on this, please? I'm really trying to understand this question. When you are creating a user flow from a PRD, how do you interpret the document? I remember you mentioned that certain shapes are used to represent specific functionalities or features, like the buttons. So once I get a PRD, the first thing I do is to study it very well. When I study it, I'll bring out the features. There will be a place for this project should contain, okay, let's just use the landing page for example. This should contain an about us, it should contain a contact us, it should contain our futures, it should contain, I just put down all the futures that I have. And then I create a user flow from the PRD that was gotten. I ask myself, so how do someone move from the landing page to the contact us? How do we move from this to this? How do we move from this to this? So to move from the landing page to the contact us, I already know that there should be a button that should have something like, to contact us, click here. So I just go to my Figma, and then I just, in a frame, I just write something like, to get to know us, click here, as a button, and leave it in the landing page, and then I link it to the contact us frame, and it just takes you there. I don't know if that answers your question. I'm really struggling to understand this question. So that's just how it works. I made a request earlier. I guess it's not accepted. A request for what? No, I hacked. A request for what? Can you be more specific? A request for what? So please, Wama, please do well to maybe come to my DM and just explain this question deeper for me to really understand and give you insights. It's not really looking so clear. So Heart, what did you make a request for? Can you be more specific so that we would? So be more specific with your question. All right, Paul, you're welcome. Can you be more specific with your question? So we'll just give you 2 minutes for that. Probably you're typing 2 minutes for that, and we'll just end this call. Yeah. I don't know if you mean the request to join request to probably join the WhatsApp group chat. If it's not there, just kindly send your request again. I will accept after this call. So yeah, Joshua, welcome. Is prototyping important? I don't know, but I would say prototyping, just brings your design to life. It brings your design to life. When I was working at Bondly, we do not prototype our designs. But currently I'm working at Havila, we prototype our designs. At the end of the day, it depends on what the client wants. And if it's a freelancing gig, I think you just need to prototype, because you wouldn't need to just let the clients be able to just click this and it actually goes somewhere. Click this and it goes. I think the difference between graphic design and UI design is that prototyping. So once you don't prototype, it's looking like a picture, it's just there. Nothing is linked to anything. So prototyping is important, but then it also depends on your the client if he wants it. So I send in a design quotation usually whenever I get a gig containing timelines for each stage of my design and how much I'm going to charge and how long it's going to take to do all of that. So there is usually timeline for prototyping. If he doesn't want it, he can tell me take it out, and there is an amount for prototyping. So if I'm taking out prototyping, we're also minusing the amount I put in for prototyping. So it basically depends on the client at this point. So okay, I think you understand what I'm trying to say. For example, let's take the Kuda app. When you open it, you'd see different buttons. One to transfer and send money, another to. Okay, I'm waiting for you, Wama, please. So it all depends. Even if the client still doesn't want prototyping, whenever I want to showcase my designs, I usually just prototype them. Prototype them so that people would see how it works exactly. Just to add up. Maybe I want to create a case study. I just prototype them. Just bring my design to life, okay? So for one to transfer money, another to send, another to, how do you know which shape to use for each function and feature when creating a user flow, and how do you decide? Okay. All right. So I think, okay, let me read this again. Oh, this particular action should have this shape so that anyone reviewing the user flow can clearly understand the functionality or feature being represented. All right, so I think what I do for most call to actions, I just use buttons. For most call to actions, I just use buttons. Things like buy now, transfer now, send now, I just use buttons. So if there are four core features if it's an app, that the app needs four core features, what I do is I just put them in a very small cycle shape, very small cycle, because the phone frame is small. So I put them in a very small cycle shape, and then I put in an icon that is, if it's a bank app, you see a place for send money, receive money. What else can you see? You can see more. You can see send airtime or buy airtime, stuff like that. I just make them, since there are more shapes, more call to actions, I just make them very, 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 very small. Put an icon that is depleting the action, and then below the icon, I will put what that flow represents. So if it's to buy, there'll just be a small icon that is showing a small circle. Inside of the circle, there will be a buy icon. Below it, you just see buy. So once you click buy, it takes you to the next frame. So the only way to know how to exactly the exact way to interpret and know the right CTA to use for every action or functionality is by experience. Here is by experience. You just know what works, and then when you are doing your low fidelity wireframe, when you are sketching, you just sketch that out and just check if that makes sense to you. So it's by experience and by studying already existing designs. So if you open a Kuda app, for example, like you mentioned, the transfer, the send, and all of that. So seeing how they kept their transform send, I won't do something that is so far from what is already existing. So this is called the Jacob's law. It means people spend most of their time in the other app. What does this mean? People spend most of their time using an already existing app. Your app just came to life, right? They've not used it before. So they're expecting it to work as the one they've been using is working. So if I'm designing for a bank app, I just go ahead, study already existing bank apps. Look at how they kept their CTAs. Look at how they interpret their user flows. Just study and study and study and know exactly which button best describes each action. That's how I go about it. So these things, clarity just comes from experience. The particular functionality that will clearly represent a future. So it's the experience. You will just know. You just get used to it, and you just know what works. And if it doesn't work for the client, he would always tell you, and then you iterate. And even if you just pick something, remember there is something called user testing. There's a stage to test a product. So once you give it to them, and there's something called MVP, minimal viable product. The action you want to take, you want them to send money. from a CUDA app that you design. Just watch them. If it's difficult for them to locate the send app, then they're not completing the process. As they're doing the whole testing, you're timing them too. If it takes so much time, it means something is wrong. If they did not even do it at all, it means something is wrong. If they start and did not end it, it means something is wrong, So during the testing stage, I still monitor all the CTAs and all the functionalities and check for each of them. Was it difficult for them to identify where I kept it? Was it easy for them to, if it was difficult, I definitely know that I should use a different button. I'd probably just make it bigger, make it visible, just something that works here. So with time, with research, with iterating here and there, you get a hang of it, please. Yeah. So do you think UI design remains relevant in the future, or will programs take over the place? Programmers take over the place. All right, programmers can never and will never take over. I don't know if you've ever seen a work done by a programmer that a designer did not. In fact, you would know. Once you see it, you will just know. You just say, what is this? They don't have good use of color. They don't have good sense of color. Most of the people that will even give you work, gigs, are programmers. Programmers will tell me, I promise I have this gig. This is the pay. We're going to be doing 60-40, I'll give you 40%, take 60%, help me around the UI. Because they know that most times they don't really know how to, even combining color is hard for a designer, talk more of a programmer. So they don't really understand the laws of website, how to just place the laws of UX, the whole UX functionality. They just want to make it work, And most times they end up doing something that, and it's difficult to make iterations from a developer standpoint. Like, imagine they develop something and the client is like, oh no, I don't like this. I don't like this. So imagine a developer developing that, writing codes all over again. It's easier to iterate from UI design. So that's why UI designers are employed first, just bring this to life. Once it's accepted, it moves to them. So one of the reasons why you also need to charge high is that the whole back and front changes from your research. I think this should be corrected. The iterations back and front it's always not easy. At some point, you just be tired of a particular project, if I'm being sincere. But then when you remember how much you have been paid, you have to do the work. So yeah, developers can never take over the space because they will never understand who a user really is. Their own is just to write codes and bring it to life. So they don't understand the user. So that is why you need to make sure that your game in being a UI UX designer, you play it well. You make it clear that when a design is out, it's so clear that a UI UX designer did this and it was just not done by the programmer, a developer. I don't know if that makes sense. So yeah. So the question if we can have an open WhatsApp group where we can interact amongst ourselves. I believe it will help us in our learning journey. So for this open WhatsApp group, I'm just trying to, we have over 600 students in the main group and over 1,000 in the other group. So imagine an admin drops a message and everybody's just chatting and interacting. It shows what's gonna happen is that most people will miss vital information. So we do not just lock the group because we want to lock the group. We locked it for, we just wanted to get the right to get information when it's being passed. That's the reason why the group is locked, for you to get. So we can just unlock the group for today. From now till 6 p.m. You are free to interact within yourselves. We will say something like, just drop an intro about yourself. If you are a newbie in design, if you've been here for long, we'll just unlock it today to do you a favor heart. Yeah. So this will just be open from now till 6 p.m. So do well to use this opportunity and get to know yourselves. Yeah. Thank you very much. So at this point, I think we've answered. Can AI replace UI UX? AI can never replace UI UX because AI does not understand. The difference between you and AI is like you are a human, and when you are designing the product, you understand what your other humans are passing through, and you would design to fit them. That human instinct, that human attributes, AI does not have it. So AI can do all the UI, but you see UX, AI cannot. How someone really, really feels using a product. I think that is where functionality is also important. That is where UX is also important. So AI can obviously do something, make it look beautiful, but someone might not be able to go from here to here. People might feel frustrated using it. People might feel, the whole point of giving it to a human being, testing it, iterating it, all those back and front, to really get it to do what you want it to do, AI cannot do that here. So for now, I think UI UX, we are still safe. AI cannot be humans, So there is a UX part where you have to understand your users. It doesn't do that. It just goes straight up to designing what it thinks, and it's always biased, and it's never about what you think. That is the reason why you research, to know what exactly it's about. So yeah, you keep repeating charge high, considering the stress. So what's the minimum charge? Raymond, I would say at this point that it depends on your level of expertise. There is no minimum. There is no minimum. You can get to a point where 500,000 is your list, 300 is your list. You can't do below 1 million. Some people do as much as 10 million. So it all depends on you. So there is no list, there is no minimum. It all depends on you. So just calm down and learn the skill. UI UX is not difficult, but then I would say it's not easy. The whole iterations, research, the whole it can be. You can imagine entering, like when I entered Web3, I just moved to Web3 this year, hearing some new terms, some terminologies that I've never used before. It was a lot. Imagine designing a Web3 wallet. When I'm not a trader, I am not a crypto. It took a lot for me to really, really understand how this space works. So just calm down. Just calm down and understand this. Just calm down and understand this. Calm down, understand how it works. And you can now talk about making money. Is there money in UI UX? Yes, people are making money from UI UX. But calm down and understand how it works first before you talk about what's the minimum charge. Yeah, thank you so much. So UI UX is going to cause burnouts. It all depends on you. It all depends on you. If you don't really understand it and you're already taking gigs that are bigger than you, oh my god, you might be experiencing burnout. But it all depends on you. Just develop your skill, get used to the Figma interface. Something that can take 1 month, something that normally is done within a month, you can do it as much as in 2 weeks. Probably stay up all night during the morning section. 2 weeks you're done. You that 2 weeks use it and spend your money and all of that. So it all depends on you and this burnout part. So you mentioned time to value. The time users spend achieving what they came to the app for. For example, when using a banking app to make transaction, typically have to input the account number, select the bank or something. Sometimes the system autofills it and optionally adds a narration. I remember that in the past, Kuda used to make the narration field compulsory before you could complete a transaction, which made the process longer and quite frustrating. In situations like this, how can you reduce the time user spends completing their tasks on the app? Because the longer it takes, the more frustrating an experience it becomes. Oh, thank you so much, Woma Pete, for these beautiful, beautiful questions you've been keeping here. You've already answered the question in what you asked. You said Kuda used to have a compulsory narration section, which they removed. Probably from their research, they found out that people are not having a good. The UX is bad. The UX of their app is bad. They had to really, really research and know what exactly is the problem. And they saw that people don't really like that narration. When I get to that, I put rubbish in my narration. I can just put XSS, FFF, just anything to pass that stage, because me too, I feel frustrated using that part. So they obviously saw that people don't like the stage, but it's an important stage for people that likes keeping things like neatly and organized. They really want to know what they are spending each money on. So they did not remove it because it's important, but then it's no more compulsory because they want to reduce the flow for those that don't really see that as important. So in the first class, I think I said something about if have you ever tried applying for a job online and then the whole process is so frustrating that you end up not applying. They get to a point where they ask you for you get to a point where they ask you for your name, some even ask where you live, some ask your CV, some ask for referral, some will say something like do a 5 minute video of yourself telling us why you should qualify for this. All of those things just because I'm applying. I feel like what you just need is my CV and my resume, that's all. So the whole process, you can imagine filling form of like 5 page because you're applying for a job. At some point, you will just give up and like, go to the next work to apply. So from UX, we've noticed that we know we need this talent, but this talent, they don't also have time. They are so frustrated that they don't have time to fill all of this. So what are the most important things when one is looking for a job? Simple. Your name, your email, your CV, or your portfolio, link to your portfolio. That's all. That's all. For most of the apps I design, that's all I ask for. So with this, we just need to know if we like your CV and we proceed to the next stage. So I can't be sending all of this when we don't even know if you're going to be making it to the next stage. So I don't know if that makes sense. I can't be sending all of this when it's just frustrating. But once I've seen you've been selected, congratulations, kindly fill it other form. Person will gladly, with speed. Do you understand? So some things are meant to be for the second stage of the interview, and most interviewer has all of them in one place, making the whole process frustrating and all of that. So yeah, so with research and all of that, you would know when to iterate, when to reduce a flow that is so unnecessary. Some flows are not necessary. Some flows are not necessary. You know, this our generation, most people don't have time. They just want, even when they are the ones that need the help, they still do not have time to go through all these processes. So it's, you know, understanding your users, knowing what works for them, iterating your product back and front. That is why WhatsApp will keep updating, all these banks will keep updating. Why? What exactly are they updating? They're making the process easy for you. Even though most times they might bring out a process that doesn't really work. Like that sometimes our WhatsApp will do some updates and will be like, can someone kindly advise WhatsApp to go back to what they were using before? It means they did not really do their UX research properly. They just wanted to make change, just wanted people to download their new future, and all of that. So before an update is being made, there are two things. There might be cyber threats. They are seeing loopholes in their app and then they need to update, or they are seeing that their UX is bad. People are complaining too much and then they just upgrade the app, reduce the length it takes to complete from this action to this action, just make it shorter and make the whole UX process simple. So it's also important to know that in as much as we want all websites to have a good UX, I for one pray that you should give them time to grow. With time, they will really know what works. With time, no amount of research will show you exactly what the real users pass through. Remember research, you just pick as random. You just pick 10 persons. You can pick 20, you can pick 100, but you cannot compare to 1,000 persons, So with time, they would keep making iterations, updating to what really works, and that's how that works. Peace. So like, why are you detaching? What does the detaching mean? Detaching what? I don't get. Henry, can you go back? Why do you replace the rectangle with wireframes? Oh, I get that now. All right, so wireframes are like containers that holds everything you put inside it. So I want things to be like inside the container. I want things to be organized. So the first rectangle there is just a rectangle. If I drop anything there, it will just be on top of it, and the rectangle will be on its own. What is there will be on its own. But I want that when I move that rectangle, if it's a frame, when I move it, it's moving with everything inside of it. It's like grouping them together. So most times I love to put things in a frame. It kind of puts all of them in a container. Unlike using a rectangle that just keeps things, they're just there on top of themselves. It's like a book is there, a pen is there, this is just there on top of themselves. But like imagine a wireframe, a frame as a container that it's inside the bag. You are seeing a pen. So when you carry the bag, it's like you're carrying everything in that section. It just kind of groups your work and make your work easier. So most times I prefer professionals use wireframes and not. So it's not wireframe, it's frame. Please use frame instead of rectangle. It kind of groups things, puts things together in a container. Instead of frame, instead of rectangle that is just on top of. You might not notice looking at it. The rectangle is just on top of it until you want to move it, and instead the rectangle is just moving. I'll be like, oh, this was a rectangle. So I now went to go and get wireframes, trying to replace them to make sure that the things I'm putting are entering inside, and when I move them, it's just moving at a whole. So the application will just tire you. So I don't know what this was referring to. Excel, you can take as long as you want. I don't get this. The local government, you guys are saying something else. Why do you replace the rectangle with wireframe? I think I've answered that. To put them in a container. Why are you detaching? What does detaching do? I really do not get this question. If it's referring to the first thing you said, I think I've answered that. So, thank you so much, Peace, for asking such brilliant question for all of us to learn. So, Raymond, you are a patient teacher. Thank you for the value you are giving back to the site. Oh, thank you so much, Raymond. Is it compulsory to do low fidelity wireframes? I think I will just say this. Experience will teach you. Experience. People go as much as testing out the product from the low fidelity wireframe and correcting everything they want to correct before they add pictures and all of that. It's easier than when you've done all the beautiful things, you've wasted time to make it so fine, so beautiful, and then they're saying, we don't like this design, the functionality is bad, this is this, change this. It's easier when it's just blocks. It's easier for you to make changes. So I for one, I started from, I already know what I want to design. I go straight up and design it. But then coming back to so much iterate, change this. Nobody told me that low fidelity is very, very important. Low free wireframes is very, very important here. So it all depends on you. Experience will teach you. Some client will tell you, oh, this is beautiful. Can I see the low fidelity, please? And then at that point, you'll be looking at them. Is sketching still necessary? It all depends on what works for you, you know. It depends on you. Some people don't sketch. Some people do the sketching inside their Figma. But I still sketch. I open my book and I just put down my ideas. Just rough sketch something. Just the way it's coming. The way my head is telling me to place things. I put it down. Then I open my book and go to my Figma and I start doing them to know if that really works. If it doesn't work, I change things until I get to what suits me and what I like. I don't know if that made sense. Yeah. So it all depends on you. Some sketch. There are some softwares that you can use to sketch. Some people use those softwares to sketch. I've forgotten them because I came up. I don't do digital sketching. I sketch with my book here. But there are softwares that if you're using a tablet and you have a pen, you can just use it to just just behave like you just draw a phone size, just sketch a rectangle, sketch things, just drop them. There are softwares for that. But I feel like when I want to design, I just open up my Figma and design. When I want to sketch, just use my book and pen beside me. So yeah, is sketching okay for portfolios as a case study? Sketching okay? Yeah, obviously some portfolios people add their sketching to show that they really, really started this work from scratch. People add their sketches to show they started this work from scratch. Yeah. I think that's all for now. I don't know if someone else has a question, so I will just end this call right now. I think that's all for now. I can see that most of you are not novice in this UI UX field, while some are complete novice. Please, just to encourage someone here, if you are here and this is your first time hearing this, you don't really know how this works, take it easy on yourself. Take it easy on yourself. With time, you will understand. Everybody was once where you were. I started my UX journey. I started designing 2020 during the lockdown, and then I moved from graphics to UI UX 2022, 2021. Yeah, the next year. So this is like 4 years into it, and that's done me so well. So I advise you to just take it easy on yourself. It took this long to me because I did not find where to learn. I was on YouTube, I was there. Nobody was really giving me what I wanted to learn. I was seeing GSTs, I was seeing UX. I really wanted to practice. That's the reason why we are giving you this UI first, because GSTs are everywhere. I really wanted to practice. I really wanted to see my designs and feel good about it. Just take it easy on yourself. It might take someone else, our very first class, to catch up. It might take you watching your YouTube videos 5 times to understand what I was even saying. To get exactly where I went to understand where. Do your due diligence, and with time it will pay. Give the skill 3 months, give it 6 months, give it 1 year. It will start paying your bills. You would look back and thank the day you saw Lumtech free beginner class flyer. So that's how it works. Take it easy on yourself. Some people are already saying some heavy things. Some people are saying wireframing. Some people are asking some big questions, and I already know that they have an understanding of how it works. And maybe there is you who doesn't even know what UI UX is about. Just take it easy on yourself, and you would be there. Alright, Richie boy. Is low fidelity design still necessary if sketching already provides the initial design concept that can be translated into high fidelity design? No. It's still very important. It's still very, very important. Low fidelity wireframe is still very, very important. So like I said earlier, for this low fidelity, experience to answer this question for you. So you are free to jump to your high fidelity, your high fee. You are free to jump to that. So with experience, when you make so much iterations in your high fidelity, you see the reason why low fidelity. And low fidelity and sketch is not the same thing. It's not the same thing. So there is a very, very rough sketch where you just sketch what you think. And then when I open my book and I'm doing the low fidelity, and I try to do what I sketched, I'm not saying that, oh, this cannot work. I see that my low fidelity, I'm gradually positioning it into what it should be. I'm like, oh, this cannot work. This is not it. We just be making iterations on my system. So it all depends on what works for some people. Some people don't sketch. They just go straight up to low fidelity. They figure it out from there and they move to their high. It depends on what makes sense for you. It depends on what works for you. So yeah, I said Joshua. I said at a point that was also high fidelity is just just makes sense, just looks finer, straight to the point. You already know what you're doing, so why waste all this time going back, doing this back and forth, unnecessary process? But working in a real life project will really teach you that it's not about aesthetics. Functionality is very important, and that functionality is gotten from you get a hang of it in your low fidelity. So don't worry, keep doing your high fidelity. Experience will teach you. I think that's the best answer to that question. So I don't know if you have any other question, whatever that is confusing you. No. So our next after this call, we'll just upload yesterday's class. I heard most of us had network issues. Too well to go over the video and watch. Just watch it over and over again to gain mastering of what was taught yesterday. Yesterday was a lot for some people to digest. I for one know that it was a lot. Authentication page, you already move straight up to dashboard. All these things take as much as 1 month in some academies. But we're trying to give you so much value in this 1 month. We're trying to give you so much, as much as we can in this beginner class. That is why you are flying. We know that it seems big for your brain to comprehend. Just take your time. The video is not leaving anytime soon on YouTube. Take your time and watch it. Watch and prepare yourself. So I'll be dropping a task for us to do for the week and deadline for the task. Too well to do that and submit. And then the video will be uploaded as I said earlier. So I think we've come to the end of this. Call. Thank you so much for choosing to learn with us. Thank you for sticking around. Do well to do due diligence when the video drops and learn. Yeah, that's the end of this call. See you guys on Tuesday. But remember, watch out for your WhatsApp group for information containing your assignments and when the video has been uploaded. Thank you.